This is one of the coolest places I've ever deer hunted.
You're kidding me.
Should be peak of the rut. It is November 2nd, and I am back in one of my favorite places in the world, Nebraska. This is one of the coolest places I've ever deer hunted. That's why I'm so excited for this trip, because this is just a deer hunt. I'm not after one specific deer. I'm not after some specific caliber of deer. I'm just out here to have a good time in a place that is great deer hunting. And it's a location that I've hunted the last 2 years. Last year I hunted here and killed a really nice buck on the first day of that hunt. And now this year the plan is to have a good chunk of time to spend some quality time here and see what really is possible. So excited for this dream hunt of sorts. All right, home sweet home.
Back in this area of Nebraska for my 4th time, and armed with infield experience and an exhaustively thought through plan, I'm excited to have the luxury this week of being patient, hunting my area smart, and waiting for an exceptional mature buck. But not long after setting up camp, a discussion with the landowner leads to the unexpected news that another group of hunters has gained permission to hunt this week too, and they've laid claim to the entire swath of ground I'd hunted in years past. Now, I'm relegated to hunting an entirely different zone, with almost none of the trees or cover that whitetails in this area gravitate to.
So coming into this trip, should be peak of the rut. This is the trip that I planned on being my rutcation, my celebration of all that's great about whitetails. I picked a place that there's a lot of deer, there's a lot of old deer, but everything's been kind of thrown out the window because, just found out from the landowner that whole area, like 80% of the cover on this property is now kind of claimed by these other guys. So I've been a little bit, trying to figure out what to do now. There's just not a lot to work with. So that's a really long-winded way of saying I need to figure out a brand new game plan. I'm hoping from that far corner we can see everything. So I think I just want to peek here, take a look, and then go over one more knob.
With my original plan now thrown out the window, it's time to fall back on the one lesson I've learned here that still might apply. Scout with your eyes. On all of my previous trips, long-range glassing across the plains has led to useful observations. My plan tonight is to head up to a high spot and glass as much of this new country as possible.
All right, first deer of the day spotted. There's a doe up on that opposite hillside, just above that really thick patch of cedars and stuff over there. Well, there's not supposed to be cattle in this area, but there's a cow walking right down into the river bottom in the area I'm supposed to be able to hunt. So, deer usually do not like to hang out where there's a bunch of cows. I've seen some deer. There's like 6 or 7 does that came out of the corner of the stuff I can hunt and worked their way to the other property where there's a cut cornfield. So that's the decent news. The less decent news is that there just is no obvious, easy tree that I could even get in. So it's not even like I'm picking the best spot. I've literally gotten to the point where I'm thinking, is there any tree I can get sticks in the saddle into? And there's none I can really clearly identify from here. Hope for an epiphany. There's a big buck across the river. He's a good one. It's nice to see one, that's for sure. Well, I'd call the scouting session kind of so-so. Did not see as many deer as I was hoping on the property I can hunt, but we did see deer. A decent number of deer, almost all of them coming off the neighbors and feeding in their farm field there. But there were like 5 or 6 does that came off of ours right at the edge and went up there. And then the other side of the river, I think on our side of the line, a nice buck came off and then moved on to the neighbors. So I know there's deer in the area. I gotta believe they cruise this river bottom on our side of the line, so there's a chance. Make a game plan for tomorrow morning and give it a shot.
A solid plan is great to have, but you better not get too precious with it. Or at least that's what I try to remind myself in moments like this. What separates success from failure isn't necessarily having the best laid plan, but the most adaptable one. There's gonna be bumps in the road. There's gonna be unexpected swerves, curves, and turns. That much is guaranteed. But there's no use bemoaning it. No use wondering who to blame. The only question worth asking at this point is, now what?
I'm gonna hammer this, have a couple cookies, pack up my bag for tomorrow, and do a lot of thinking tonight about where I want to go. I have an idea, but this whole day has been full of surprises, so I need to ponder a little bit more, and we'll see what tomorrow brings. Okay. I'm gonna walk down that river bottom and then parallel it up to one of these kind of deep washout cuts that drops down into that bottom. I'm gonna set up on the downwind side of that cut and the lower bottom part where I think these deer maybe cruise. And gonna look for a cedar tree I can hide in on the ground, and we'll go from there. Like I discussed last night after glassing, did not seem like there were going to be any trees that would be obvious options to get into in the dark, so I slipped in there this morning and found a really nice little cedar that's pretty perfectly positioned to hunt right up here where I think these bucks should cruise. What I've got in front of me is one of these inside bends of the river that's kind of thick. Typically there's does bedding in these inside corners. This isn't as thick as a lot of them, so we'll see. But there were 5 does that popped out on the western edge of this last night, so bucks should be cruising through here to check these bedding areas, and they get pinched down by the river. Based on what I saw last night, what I'm seeing here today, it seems that the cattle have been here pretty darn heavy, so there might not be many deer bedding along this stretch at all. It looks pretty beat down. that was great to see a buck like that. And that's the second buck I've seen on that side of the river. It does not set up well for me getting over there to try to hunt over there this afternoon if they stay in that pocket of cover. But the river's really shallow, so they very well could poke over this way, especially if one of those does is not hot. If that buck checks them all out and sees that none of them are ready to go, he might circle back this way because he heard, some other bucks. So, we're not out of it yet.
After several more hours without action, I set out to explore more of the area before making a plan for the evening. Are there any other locations for an ambush? Is there anything to hold deer here? Is it just a pass-through location? Is there anywhere at all I can get up into a tree? The more I see, the more questions I have.
There are very few workable trees in here. There's a couple of these cottonwoods right by the river that I think I could get up into, but everything out from it is just short and super scrubby, so there's nothing that's on the edge of this transition. There's zero options. Well, I've decided that, given the fact there's really no good tree, the thing that I would have done probably regardless is now the only option, which is to go over there and hunt the other side of the river where that big buck came back through. You got to listen to what the deer are telling you, and so far that's what they're saying.
Unfortunately, what the deer are telling me is not particularly convenient. The river's deeper than I expected and can't be crossed without waders. So, instead, I've got to travel more than a mile down the river to a bridge. Once I'm across that, I have to figure out how to move into position while being stuck upwind of where I think these deer are. The only option is to make a long loop behind multiple hills to block my wind and then circle back down once I'm well past and my wind can safely blow to the water.
A spot here that gets me the balance of a close enough shot, while also, some kind of cover and some shooting lanes through this tall grass. I gotta be able to see his vitals.
All said and done, it's almost a multi-hour ordeal. And then it seems to take just as long to find the right ambush location once I get there. Given the limits of my new hunting access, this might be my best chance all week. I've got to nail it.
If they worked this way, I would have a good shot, but at the same time, I would be exposed, so I would need to know they're coming, get into position, and basically draw back as they're walking out across and hopefully get a shot before they spot me. I've got a lot of pressure on me, so I should stay in. It's tricky because it's hard to get a range with all this stuff floating around. There's a lot of things blocking your sight lines. It's hard to gauge how tall a deer is going to be in this. I've had times where I'm like, oh yeah, you'll definitely be able to see the vitals. And then they get in it and they're much shorter than you would expect. I think it's the best chance I got, though. It's kind of a bold move, I guess. I got over here to where I saw those deer this morning. This is the only place I've seen deer so far on the property I can hunt. That buck cruised out of here last night. Then this morning, 5 or 6 does. And then that really big buck cruised into this bedding next to me. So I don't necessarily expect that same deer to come out and do the same thing. Because if he's rutting, he could be anywhere.
In the heat of the moment, I shoot for 30 yards, but the buck is at 40. Miraculously though, the rutted up buck never sees me, and instead slowly eases back in my direction to see what made the noise. If I can stay hidden long enough for him to turn broadside and look away, I might just get a second chance.
I knew there was a chance. You had to come over here and give it a shot, but it was the best thing I had going. But sitting here, I'm like, what are the chances he actually comes right back out the way he did this morning? Just insane. All of this was so unexpected. Coming here with one set of expectations and then, having it all kind of turned upside down. Not being able to find trees to hunt from, not knowing, if I was gonna get on anything in this little corner. And then when I saw this guy this morning, I thought, well, the only way to pull this hunt off would be to circle way around where he had gone into this thick stuff and hope he was still in here. And then there's 0 trees to hunt from. So then it's like, can I actually get hidden in this brush well enough that if he did happen to come out the same way, I could get a shot? And I took forever to pick the right little bush to hide in and have it actually work out that he comes out. And then I shoot underneath him when I misrange him. And right after I shot and I missed, I assumed he ran off, and I'm like, oh no. And I looked back up and he was still there. I'm like, holy crap, he's gonna give me another shot. It seems like there's so much that's outside of your control. You can do everything right. You can work your tail off. You can try to do all the right things. And then crazy things happen. This is a great reminder that it can go the other way too. Stuff can all seem to be going wrong. Stuff can all seem to be, not going the way you want it to. Everything can seem outside of control. But if you keep doing the right things, if you keep on keeping on, sometimes wildly it does all fall in place. It's this crazy microcosm of life, I guess, both ways. I came out here wanting to have a just a pure and simple whitetail adventure, and this has been that much faster than I expected. But it has been a whitetail adventure, no question about that.